and how they're made in workshops where the workers are forced to sleep on the floor, so that way they can have 24-hour production. So today we're going to be talking about these gorgeous new Valentino bags that are typically priced between $2,000 to $3,000 USD, and how they're made in workshops with workers who are forced to sleep on the floor and work on machines with the safety devices removed. And guys, this isn't just Valentino specific, this is about how the entire luxury industry operates under the radar. So first of all, we have to find out who is involved in these allegations, and the responsibility of that falls onto Valentino Bags Lab SRL, which is a subsidiary of the Valentino brand. When it comes to the Valentino brand, think of it like a big umbrella, and we're going to be basically focusing on the subsidiary of that brand, the Valentino Bags Lab. They are responsible for making the handbags and a lot of the travel accessories like your luggages, suitcases, cosmetics bags, things like that. How exactly did Valentino Bags get to this point? Well, the worker conditions were horrific. Sadly, we've seen this time and time again, which we'll dive into here in just a second. But in this particular instance, when it comes to Valentino bags and these unregulated Chinese-owned workshops that they had subcontracted and outsourced to, the workers were often forced to work 24-hour days. They were kept there, forced to sleep on the floor so that way they could meet production targets. More horrifically, they were forced to work on machines with missing safety devices. The devices had been removed so that way they could speed up production and meet quota that much quicker. And sadly, these workers were often underpaid or unpaid altogether, or they were just undocumented with no formal protections. This isn't some third world sweatshop scandal. This is happening right in the heart of Europe under the Made in Italy label. Now, sadly, Valentino is the fourth luxury brand since 2023 to kind of fall under this umbrella, where labor laws just weren't ignored, but they were actively bypassed. Guys, we saw this most notably with Dior, who's owned by LVMH last year. We've seen this with Giorgio Armani, and we've seen this with Alviero Martini, which sadly means that these abuses are a systematic trend and not just like a one-off issue. Now, made in Italy does not equal made ethically these days, sadly, which we've seen time and time again with these cases. I don't think Valentino is going to be the last time we see this. We get swept up in the loophole of artisanal romanticism, where these brands, leverage the cachet of made in Italy, made in Europe, and they're truly just exploiting undocumented labor behind closed doors. It's kind of a slap in the face if you really think about it. Now, when it comes to Valentino, the designs, they're finally separating themselves from Alessandro Michele's leftover Gucci vision and Pier Paolo's previous work, and they're finding their own language, their own stride. They're finally becoming exciting again. Like, I can't tell you the last time I had been excited about Valentino. Gosh, probably not since the Roman stud, and before then it had been a very long time. So the fact that we're now, finding out that yet another luxury house is so disgustingly greedy and exploiting their workers, it sours the entire thing. Like, I'm not interested in it anymore. Now, before we dive into profit margins and brand accountability, trust me, there's a lot to unpack there. Hey guys, my name's Caleb. I post luxury and lifestyle related content several times a week, both here on YouTube and over my website, curatedbycaleb.com, where you're going to find an entire lifestyle blog, online store. And if you're looking for a little bit more access, hit this QR code here on the right to your TV screen, where you're going to be able to join the membership. And the membership is going to give you so much extra access. There's a Discord, members meetups, secret members only lives. Trust me, it is totally worth it. And you're going to join a pretty elite community. We have a ton of fun together. Now, this next part is going to make you pull your hair out. We're going to be talking about profit margins. We saw this with the entire is Hermes made in China, and if I get one more comment of, oh, my friend's sister who lives in Seattle took her dog to the dog park and talked to this lady named Marcia who lives on the other side of town and has a third cousin who once went to China to visit a friend, looked in the window and saw that all the Hermes Birkins were made in China. Like, be so for real. I got so many of those kind of comments. They were absolutely insane. But when it comes to these brands, everyone seems to be so gleeful to find out that they're not really worth what they're charging. And listen, as someone who collects luxury, as someone who's actually worked in luxury sales in the past, like, trust me, I understand, I get it completely. But with a lot of these brands, the price of production of making that one particular item doesn't necessarily encapsulate the entire cost for the brand. Firstly, the brand, has to pay for the people making the bags, and hopefully they're doing it correctly. Unlike Valentino and Dior. They also then have to pay for the retail, the advertising campaign, the celebrity who's now endorsing it for this season. They also have to pay the salary of the people working in the stores or within their corporate offices, their call centers, the brick and mortar retail in major cities in the most expensive districts. Like, a lot of cost actually goes into running these brands. Is it all wrapped up in making that item? No. But at the same time, just seeing the stark contrast between the production number and what they were charging, it can be shocking. So take this with a grain of salt, but to make a Valentino bag, They cost anywhere from $40 to $80. Yes, that same exact bag that you're about to pay $2,000 to $3,000 for, sometimes $5,000, only cost them about $80 to make. Let that sink in. And it makes it even more disgusting when they use these cost-cutting measures at the expense of their undocumented labor. Absolutely disgusting. And they do all of this just to maximize the margins, as if in 2025, these brands with their constant price increases, lowering quality and expectations, need to maximize their profits anymore. I think we're going to talk about this here in a little bit when it comes to, accountability and where the brands go from here. But I think as consumers, we're all a little freaking tired of it. I know I am. I'm so done with a lot of it, and I know a lot of you are too, but we're going to cover that here in just a moment, because this next part kind of made me roll my eyes. But Valentino Bags Lab, they're like, oopsie, we didn't know. We had no idea that the people that, these other brands had previously used were doing these things. That's a surprise to us. Whoops-a-daisy. So of course they're not going to be held accountable, but the subcontracted companies, I believe, had to pay about a $320,000 fine. You might say that when your profits depend on turning a blind eye, is it really ignorance or is it just strategy? At the end of the day, is this just all strategy? And this is going to have a huge impact on the brand, because when you think about it, the younger consumers, they're finally, moving into their higher earning years. They're going to be looking at purchasing these luxury brands. So far, they really love Coach. And when these companies consistently disappoint, like Dior, Giorgio Armani, Valentino, you're just going to be, shaving off like an entire generation as they grow up and grow through the phase of buying luxury from purchasing your products. And the end of the day, was this extra small percentage in your exploited labor really worth ticking off your consumers that much? Be so serious. Now, what does this mean for the industry as a whole? For the luxury industry, I think that luxury fashion is under more ethical scrutiny now more than ever, and the luxury consumers, we're starting to notice, right? But these practices just aren't isolated to Valentino. We're starting to see them across multiple high-end houses, which kind of shows me that this is becoming a pattern. Now, Made in France has always been a little bit more regulated than Made in Italy. I think Made in Italy is such a broad term at this point, which we've now seen has just been abused to no end. Made in France, I trust a little bit more still than Made in Italy. Of course, I'm sure we're going to find out, as time goes by, that more houses are doing this in whatever European country you choose, like Spain, Portugal, France, Italy. Hopefully not, but I'm sure this isn't just an isolated event with these four. We're going to keep finding more. And I am so thankful that the Italian courts are taking this seriously and kind of fleshing out what is seeming to be a bigger picture amongst these houses. And it's so important for us consumers to know these things. There's a reckoning happening here in the luxury space, and the illusion of superior craftsmanship, it's crumbling. No one is still buying that, my Made in Italy designer handbag is so much better than your Coach bag made in China. Well, I mean, at least the bags made in China, they're honest about it, and hopefully using better suppliers than what we're seeing here in Italy. It's kind of a shame. And like I said before, with the costs that actually go into making that bag and getting into your hands, with the glossy ad campaigns and the beautiful real estate and all the craftsmanship and the workers in the company, we often assume that a higher price tag equals ethical labor. We can't rely on price tags and glossy ad campaigns anymore. We need proof of fair practice. And I know a lot of people, we're seeing it all over the luxury space here on YouTube, they're growing tired of it. The game, the constantly spending more and more money and receiving less and less. At what point do we say enough is enough? With these designer brands, in 2025, I think the average price for a handbag is $3,000, $2,000 to $3,000. The median American household income is $80,000. Let that sink in. If you're doing the quick mental math, a $3,000 price tag is nearly 4% of that $80,000 take-home salary. And with people buying multiple bags a season, multiple bags a year, that's going to eat into our budgets pretty darn quick. These price increases are just so out of control. I was actually watching an unboxing this morning, and someone was unboxing a Louis Vuitton key clay, the little key pouch. And I was like, I remember back in the day when that was $150 USD, and I remember being upset because right before I was about to buy it, the price increased up to $165. Again, I've been sleeping on LV the past few years. You all know it. I make no qualms about that. So I was like, what does a key clay cost in 2025? I'm just curious. That key pouch that used to retail for $150 has gone up to $350 in less than 20 years. Talk about insanity. In fact, someone was watching one of my older videos where I talked about, I think it was the Louis Vuitton Danube, and how in 1997 it was, $380 for the consumer. And they're like, well, 380 in today's money would be $800. So that's still pretty expensive back then. Because I was like saying like, oh my gosh, take me back in time. I'd love to only pay $380. So yes, $380 in 1997 does equal $800 today, 2025, and that is very expensive, don't get me wrong. But the mere fact though that same bag in 2025, now that it's been released, retails for $3,850 USD is absolutely insane. They're not keeping up with the price of material. They're not keeping up with the price of production. Obviously not. They're exploiting workers. So what exactly are they keeping up with? Well, greed. At the end of the day, that plastic handbag cost them nowhere near $4,000 to make, and it shouldn't cost us, the consumer, nearly $4,000 or almost 5% of the $80,000 median household income in the US to take home. It shouldn't. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I think we're seeing left and right here on YouTube a lot of like the larger channels, which some of you accuse of them, doing this for like brand stunts or releasing their own brands, or, like there's something more behind the facade of the story that they're telling, but they're leaving the luxury space altogether. Like they're done paying these massive, insane prices. They're done chasing the next handbag only for it to be yesterday's news within a month and a half. It's insane to me that we were all so excited for these Murakami drops. I've barely seen any unboxed here on YouTube. B, they're already popping up over on Fashion File, Rebag, The Real, you name it. And it's only been like, a week and a half? Be so for real. The fact that luxury fashion now basically equates fast fashion blows my mind. And here we are, we're always worked up like, oh my gosh, the Dior book tote only cost $58 for Dior to make. I could have told you that. It's just a jacquard woven on a production machine and then like 4 seams and it's done. Oh, you might have gotten your name put on it. Cool. That shouldn't surprise you. $58, it's a canvas tote. But what really makes me upset, and what I want anyone who's watching this to kind of take away from this, don't just get angry because it's an expensive item. Get angry because there's a person, a human being being exploited behind these luxury goods. And this isn't just here in the fashion space, the luxury fashion space. This includes that crappy polyester blouse you wore once to your best friend's wedding that you got on Shein. You can't tell me that $5 blouse was made ethically. It also applies to H&M, Zara, all of these fast fashion labels, and don't even get me started about the direct to landfill crap that's constantly unboxed from Temu and Wish. Be so for real. You can't just get mad because, this $5,000 handbag only cost $40 to make, and someone had to sleep on a factory floor. Get mad at all of it, because as consumers, we have the power to think, and we hold a lot more power than you all think. Everyone kind of is under the assumption that, prices are what they are, let's just keep paying them. Stop paying these absolutely crazy prices and stop accepting less. It's absolutely crazy to me. We live in an age where, late stage capitalism, like be so for real, that's kind of where we're at right now. People just are fine status quo. Like, okay, let's keep paying. Hey, the plastic handbag from LV, sure it's worth 4K. It's not. It's definitely not. Invest in yourself, invest in your future, and buy pre-owned. It makes me so mad. So where do the brands go from here? Well, for Valentino, I can tell you that they're going to be under court administration for the next 12 months. And basically during this time, they're expected to find ways to audit, track, and clean up their supply chain, which disgustingly needs it. You might call me naive, but I like to consider myself an optimist, and I really hope that the other brands who are engaging in this behavior, not just turning a blind eye, but systematically abusing their workers, that they see what's happened to Valentino, Dior, Armani, and whatever that Alviero Martini brand. They make like map bags, like, ugh. Hopefully they see what these brands are going through, and hopefully they get some tomatoes on their faces, and these other brands are then inspired to say, hey, let's go check on our workshops. And if they see that these abuses of undocumented labor are occurring, that they pull those contracts. It is so unfortunately easy in 2025 to exploit labor, human trafficking, and all that implies and goes into all that. So it takes a more proactive approach to make sure that that's not happening under their watch. And with these brands pulling in the profit margins that they are, listen, we've already talked about the consumers are being exploited with these crazy price increases. The workers are being exploited with being underpaid, unpaid, or undocumented. But there's so much exploitation and profit margin going into this, they need to be more proactive and try and protect that. We all saw what happened to Dior last year. I know a lot of you stopped buying Dior because of the $58 book tote, or the scandal around the Balenciaga holiday campaign campaign and how everyone's mad that Dimna's now moving over to Gucci, which, trust me, I'm mad with you that aesthetically just does not make sense to me. But a lot of these brands need to kind of learn like what's happened over the last 4 or 5 years and pivot. They need to get back to small batch, they need to get back to quality craftsmanship, and stop putting out these beautifully produced videos of the white hands making these handbags. Doesn't sell it that it's made in Italy, it just looks like you hired, one of the production workers to come in on a set and make a handbag in a white lab coat. We all know that's not what it looks like. We're not dumb. We might be complicit and keep paying these prices, but we're not dumb. For you, the consumer, I want you to take away that transparency is becoming the new luxury. We need to know where our bags are made, who they're made by, with what materials, and at what cost. And with this, maybe we stop buying from these over-bloated, luxury fashion houses, which are quickly just turning into Zara with commas in the price points. And we need to find more independent designers with traceable production. And we also need to hold these brands accountable. We need to ask the hard questions. We need to demand more as consumers, not just, oh no, another price increase, let's bellyache about it and then unbox 13 things the next month. Stop it. If you're unhappy with it, be unhappy with it and hold that brand accountable. Also, you need to follow watchdog groups and ethical fashion reporters. That is the only way that you're going to find out the fact that, Zara and H&M are, illegally deforesting for cotton usage, or the fact that Shein and H&M and Forever 21, who thankfully is no longer with us, logged out of the chats, how they're exploiting their production labor. So let's wrap this up. I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but essentially, guys, keep in mind this isn't just relegated to or isolated to Valentino. This is starting to paint a bigger, much uglier picture than what we thought when we heard about it a year ago with Dior. Keep in mind, brands respond to outrage. Get mad, hold them accountable, ask the hard questions, stop buying overpriced crap. We're all tired of the bags falling apart or, the constant, gosh, what does LV have, like 13 drops a year? It is becoming absolutely insane. If I wanted to buy fast fashion, I'd still be going to the mall. Like, be so for real. There's a reason the mall's not doing well, but for some reason, we're not translating that to luxury. Make it make sense. But brands respond to outrage, attention, and boycotts that help decline sales. Like, look at Target. Target is, thankfully, learning a very hard lesson to not mess with DEI. Target's a whole other gripe in and of itself, but Target just kind of turned its back on its entire customer base, got rid of DEI, and like, oh no, we're being boycotted. Are you surprised? Target right there is a huge example of how us, the consumer, have the power to make change. If we want to live in this overbloated capitalist late stage endgame economy, we have to take back our power. And our power, you guys, is our dollar. Stop spending it with companies that don't deserve it. Look at their production lines. Where are things being sourced? Are they using ethical production standards? Chances are, if it's affordably priced, probably not. And sadly, that also rings true for a lot of the overpriced items that a lot of us love to buy. So just be a smarter, better, more informed and educated consumer. It is so important in 2025. It's probably the biggest takeaway of this entire video. Become informed. Hold brands accountable. Ask the tough questions. And things might get better. I want to hear from you down in the comments. Like, what are your thoughts on all of this? Like, do you think brands can change? Is luxury still even worth it in 2025? I know myself, like, I've always been more of a pre-owned shopper. I think financially there's just other goals and things that I want to do with my money rather than just buy like another $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 handbag. But I don't know, like the more that this nonsense carries on, like the less I want to participate. You know what I mean? I'm kind of starting to understand why some of these other folks are done with luxury, done buying it, done promoting it. Like, I don't know, it just kind of feels like a sinking ship at this point. Anyway, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Please don't tell me any more crazy stories about how you heard through the grapevine that the Birkin is made in China, because it's not. I'm done entertaining those comments. But anyway, guys, until next time, stay safe, have fun. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.